Donald Trump finally doing what no other US president dared, proving that the West has lost its grip on Africa? Or is his hardline stance against Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali just another chapter in the West's increasingly desperate bid to hold on to power? And here's the kicker. What if these three tiny nations in the Sahel are about to do what entire continents couldn't? Push back against Western exploitation and rewrite the rules of global power? Let's find out. The Sahel, a region often relegated to the footnotes of global politics, is now at the center of an unprecedented geopolitical storm. Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, three nations dismissed as impoverished and insignificant by many Western analysts, are rewriting the script of African resistance. Their defiance isn't just symbolic. These nations have expelled foreign troops, rejected exploitative agreements, and boldly criticized Western powers on global platforms. Their leaders are unapologetically putting African sovereignty first, and the people are standing behind them with unprecedented unity. Enter Donald Trump. Back in the White House, he has taken a hardline stance against these nations, viewing their actions as a direct challenge to U.S. influence. His administration's aggressive policies are adding fuel to the fire, creating a clash that could redefine Africa's relationship with the West and the world. To understand this seismic shift, we'll explore the root causes of Sahelian defiance, the role of Niger's dramatic coup in this unfolding narrative, and how Trump's approach might be the final nail in the coffin for Western dominance in Africa. So, why are Sahelian nations defying the West so boldly? To understand the Sahel's defiance, you need to start with the basics. Why has the West had such a firm grip on this region for so long? The answer lies in a toxic cocktail of exploitation, dependence, and disrespect. For decades, countries like Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali have been seen as little more than sources of raw materials, gold, uranium, and oil, funneling wealth into Western economies while leaving their citizens impoverished. But something has changed. The leaders of these nations, emboldened by military coups and widespread public support, have decided that enough is enough. Their boldness isn't random. It's the culmination of decades of frustration and a growing realization that the status quo benefits everyone except Africa. Take Burkina Faso, for example. President Ibrahim Traoré, the youngest leader in Africa, has become a symbol of defiance. In fiery speeches, he has called out the West for its hypocrisy, pointing to years of aid that came with strings attached and military operations that served Western interests more than African security. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso expelled French troops, nationalized its gold mines, and began charting a new path towards self-reliance. Niger, meanwhile, has turned its attention to uranium, a resource critical for powering Europe, but which has done little for Niger's development. For years, Western companies have extracted uranium from Niger's mines under contracts that left the country with crumbs. Now, Niger is demanding renegotiations that reflect the true value of its resources, signaling a broader shift in how African nations engage with the global economy. Mali, too, has taken bold steps. After expelling foreign troops, the country has strengthened its ties with neighboring nations, fostering a regional alliance that aims to resist external interference collectively. Mali's leaders have also prioritized cultural sovereignty, overhauling education systems to focus on African history and languages rather than colonial legacies. This wave of defiance didn't emerge in isolation. It was sparked by decades of exploitation and compounded by the realization that the West's promises of development often come at the cost of true sovereignty. But the tipping point? That came in Niger, where a dramatic coup reshaped the region's relationship with the West. Niger's 2023 coup wasn't just another political shakeup. It was a revolution in disguise. When General Abdourahamane Tchiani seized power, he didn't just oust a government. He declared war on decades of neo-imperial control. In a blistering speech that went viral across the continent, Tchiani laid bare the extent of Niger's grievances with the U.S. and its Western allies. He spoke of exploitative contracts that left Niger rich in resources, but poor in wealth, a counterinsurgency agenda that prioritized Western security over Nigerian lives, and a military presence that felt more like occupation than partnership. One of the most shocking revelations was the taxation of U.S. military aircraft operating in Niger. Despite using Nigerian airspace to conduct operations that often had little to do with Niger's security, the U.S. was pocketing the profits while Niger saw none of the benefits. This was neo-imperialism in its rawest form, and Chiani wasn't afraid to call it out. The coup was met with widespread support from Niger's citizens, who saw it as a reclaiming of their sovereignty. Crowds cheered as U.S. troops were expelled,